Mr. Speaker, to refer to the standing order number allow me, Mr. Speaker, to refer to the standing order on the issue of quorum, Mr. Speaker. If you can give me 1 minute, Mr. Speaker.
That is in order.
It is the standing order number 37, Mr. Speaker, and I want to read, Mr. Speaker, out of curiosity, Mr. Speaker, and based on what the council wanted actually to raise, Mr. Speaker, and based on the communication that you made earlier, Mr. Speaker, on my fellow colleagues who actually, Mr. Speaker, send signed documents before you, Mr. Speaker. Number 7.1, Mr. Speaker, said a quorum of the assembly or of a committee of the whole assembly shall be a third of its members, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the tradition of this house, Mr. Speaker, a third of this house, Mr. Speaker, if you calculate, Mr. Speaker, it should be around 15 point something, Mr. Speaker, 15.66, Mr. Speaker. And for the purpose of records, Mr. Speaker, we've been operating under the quorum of 16, Mr. Speaker, because it is a simple mathematics, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know my background very well, Mr. Speaker, having studied for a very long time electronics engineering, Mr. Speaker. I've also done instrumentation and control engineering, Mr. Speaker, which entails a lot of mathematics, Mr. Speaker. But if I may refer my colleagues that are outside this county assembly, Mr. Speaker, to the engineering mathematics book 1, Mr. Speaker, by A.K. Stroud, Mr. Speaker, they say in decimals, Mr. Speaker, when you are rounding off to a whole figure, Mr. Speaker, if it is above 0.5, Mr. Speaker, 0.5, then you round off ahead of the number, Mr. Speaker. And if it is less than that one, Mr. Speaker, you round down, Mr. Speaker. And that's the reason we normally run our quorum by 16, Mr. Speaker. That means a third of this county assembly. And when we want to find the 2/3 of this county assembly, Mr. Speaker, you just say the 47 members of the county assembly, you less their third, which is 16, Mr. Speaker, and you get 31 automatically, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I can say we are well, we want to proceed, Mr. Speaker, and the same, Mr. Speaker, I wish the council would have been here, Mr. Speaker. I know they studied law. I studied a lot of mathematics, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, during my KCAC, I was the third in the whole Kericho County. That was Kericho District, at that time, Mr. Speaker. So they should not even doubt, Mr. Speaker, they should refer me as the dictionary of mathematics in that case, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the second thing, Mr. Speaker, I know our colleagues, and as the leader of this house, Mr. Speaker, as one of the leader in this house, Mr. Speaker, I have seen through my mobile phone, Mr. Speaker, our 16 members of the county assembly, Mr. Speaker, are following us live, Mr. Speaker, just like other citizens of Kericho County who doesn't have the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to appear before the house and maybe argue their issues out, Mr. Speaker. I pity one honorable member, Mr. Speaker, who raised a very serious statement that informed the House to do or to form a committee on ad hoc to investigate the Kasi Mutahani, that is this debt equalizer program, Mr. Speaker, that found, the committee found around 23 million, Mr. Speaker, that these people could not account for, Mr. Speaker. And while the member was given the opportunity to give his sentiments before the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, he recommends that several people or persons in the executive should be impeached, Mr. Speaker. And we are here today courtesy of the same, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me, as I support the motion, Mr. Speaker, I want to start with the issue of revenues, Mr. Speaker, because if I will be asked
The majority, before you proceed, will not proceed with the other matter of extending time that you had reached. Because
thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I know we are caught on by time, Mr. Speaker, and maybe that is what I was saying, Mr. Speaker, before I proceed with my contribution of supporting the motion, Mr. Speaker. You allow me to introduce a motion of the extension of time, Mr. Speaker, because the standing orders of the County Assembly that is we are bound by, Mr. Speaker, allows the first session to end at 12:30 p.m., Mr. Speaker. And based on this, Mr. Speaker, and the weight of the matter that is before the House, Mr. Speaker, we need to extend the time, Mr. Speaker, and I therefore move a motion to extend the time until such a time that will conclude the matter that is before the Assembly, Mr. Speaker. And I kindly invite Honorable Moses Rotich, MCA, Tendeno Soget, Mr. Speaker, to second.
Okay.